Hey, everybody, this is Liz coming back to you today. And today I have someone for you to meet. He's going to share his name and where he's from, and then we'll go from there.
Hey, I'm Bryson Turner from North Colorado Springs, the location, Monument, North Colorado Springs area.
How long have you been with Augusta?
I think I officially signed in December of 23, but I came to training in January 24. So this is my second spring rush, so a little over a year, like year and a couple months kind of thing.
Yeah, and how has your overall experience been?
Doing great so far. I think I guess it's not I'm doing great. It's going great so far. Like I yeah, I think essentially exactly what I expected as far as um, just the general ability to. I think really mostly it was taking stuff off my plate. I think we'll get into that later as far as like why I needed stuff off my plate at that certain time
Hmm.
to be able to grow. But yeah, I think from what I've gotten from like a quote unquote Augusta corporate, I think is exactly what I expected. I think I have gotten more than expected as far as from like the community and whatnot, especially having Garrett and Glendale and Thomas and Littleton and Joel and DJ up in the other areas of Colorado. I think like having that community, Colorado is like one of the strongest Augusta states or whatever as far as the community of the owners, and so I guess self-proclaimed. Also, I think Mike said it, but yeah, I think like that community I think is a lot stronger than what I expected when I joined. And so it's definitely yeah, it's been better than expected, I guess overall.
Was that something you were nervous about to actually buy a territory that was close to other franchisees?
I don't think so because I'm 40 minutes away, like minimum distance between the next territory. So I don't think so. I think it was actually like when I had my initial call with Lee. I had my initial call with Lee in like November of 20 or no, sorry, not November, like February of like 2023, and he obviously did his hey call these two, like a couple locations, talk to them, get to know like obviously like his kind of test like does this guy really want it kind of
Hmm.
thing. And so like literally I texted Garrett that that night and or that afternoon or whatever, and by that night we were already on a phone call like having a conversation. And so I think if they were a bunch of weirdos, maybe, but they're
Yeah.
not. Like all of our owners are like fantastic in Colorado, and so and the fact that it was like, oh, solidified of like, oh, this guy's right next to me, and he's that great, and then all the other owners that have, DJ is the only one who's joined since I've joined, but like Thomas and Joel have been like great. I just work with Garrett a little bit closer, and then DJ, yeah, joined after I joined, just a little bit after, and he's just a stud.
Hmm. So I know that when people come to Lee and they have their first initial call with them, he kind of vets them. So they have to
Hmm.
be a good fit with Augusta. And it seems like you kicked it off really well with the other franchisees around you, which people that are considering the franchise, that might be a concern to them. How does it work when I'm butting up against another territory?
Hmm.
Will we share leads? Will we fight? Will there be issues? What do you think it is about the qualities of all of you that make you able to work together like that?
I just think, like, again, especially I work closest with Garrett, so I'll probably like mention him a billion times because like we sub some stuff from him and whatnot. Long story, but it's worth it. So I think it's one of those things where like a lot of us have just the exact same mind, and all of us, yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things where I don't think Lee's letting in people like Lee is pretty good about filtering out the people that are going to be jerks about uh, uh, getting like a lead in your territory or uh, yeah, I don't know, just the minute
100%.
stuff that like you could be like. I feel like Lee does a pretty good job at filtering out those personalities in general, because I feel like it comes from a personality. Garrett and I we work really close as far as like the subcontracting stuff, and I feel like every single decision we make is always me trying to make him more money and him trying to make me more money. So we it's weird because like we both are. I think like, he's especially super selfless in that of like he doesn't even though it's his business and his some of the work that he's subbing to us. He's super selfless in the fact that he maybe gives me decisions or I guess decision power on things that I shouldn't necessarily. I don't deserve decision power on, but things where it's like, oh, it's going to benefit the relationship overall. And I think, yeah, is there a 1% chance that things go wrong with your territory neighbor? Yeah, right. But also, there's a 99% chance where Garrett's subbing like 100 grand in work to us this year, and so it really there's more like there's significantly higher chance, like 100-fold chance that something good like that is going to come out of it, or at least that it's a morale booster or somebody to go to. Where it's like, I guess when you're solo and you don't know a whole lot of other business owners in your area and you're not part of a community like Augusta, you're going through like our spring rush really hit this week. We're a little bit late in the spring rush, just because of where we are, but ours really hit this week, and so both for, again, Garrett and myself, I really feel like I wouldn't necessarily have a whole lot of other people to like lean on, kind of thing. Obviously, there's all of
Hmm.
Augusta, but without being in Augusta, I really there's not a whole, I'm not a whole lot really close with a whole lot of business owners around here, and maybe that's because I already have that spot filled by the other owners in Colorado. But I think it's I get essentially like it's the best ones that you could find as far as people to lean on, people to figure out. They're in your exact same business model. It's not like you have to be friends with a hardscaper who's like doesn't mow lawns, kind of thing. It's everybody in Colorado's in the exact same. Like, I guess we have the exact same idea of a location success and like kind of the general steps forward. And so like right now, Garrett and I are trying to figure out, are like really trying to master, if you will, um, like Facebook ads and stuff like that, where it's instead of learning one times as fast, where I'm putting in a certain amount of money, different amount of ad sets, that kind of thing. We have two, or Garrett's bigger than me, so 2 or 3 times the money, and we're all learning together,
Oh, it's
of like,
awesome.
hey, this is working, this is not working, this creative is perfect, this description, this primary text is great, this is working, this converted. What's your cost per lead? What's your cost per click? Oh, mine's higher than that. What did you do to get it lower? That kind of thing. Yeah, I think it's just I think you get your franchise feedback multiple times over, and just the both the money that you directly save, like direct money saving, and then also I think like the ability to grow more, and the fact that like other people can teach you things, and also you have that person to lean on when you're like about to be super burnt out. And you're like, dude, what do I do? And they're like, oh,
Yes.
I was there last year. This is the fix. And you're like, oh,
Yes.
I'm an idiot. So that's I think, yeah, overall massive, I guess, value to.
Yeah.
Um, we wouldn't be where we were today. Even though we only started last year, we wouldn't be where we were today if we hadn't joined.
I think it would help a lot of owners if you could expound a little bit on how you sub work to each other.
Yeah. So we don't sub any work to him. He only subs to us. Garrett used to do like a large portion of Denver, and Denver Metro, or Denver, like the main part of Denver is like a couple million people. And it was just like kind of a wide open space. There's a couple territories in Denver, but like you could fit a bunch of territories in Denver, like tens of them, if you did like the strict like Augusta, a couple miles or 100,000 people or whatever. And so, but nobody else is there, or there's very few people there, and so he's kind of just been able to take leads from all around. And in growth mode, it's great, but they're definitely they're in this in between where it's like or growth mode, but in like a smaller area, like cut the service area down like a ton, and then growth mode, and then they'll cut to profit in a little bit. But so essentially, he has like this giant. It's like a 1.5 person full week route, that, and they charge a little bit more than us. That's the only reason this works, is because he's able to charge what he charges, take like stuff off the top, and then still pay us what we
Got
charge
it.
per budget hour. That's the only reason I think it really works. Like, obviously, we wouldn't do this we wouldn't, the partnership wouldn't be worth it for like less than we would usually charge for a budget hour. But because it's like all free work, we're not paying for the customers, we're not doing hardly any of the admin as far as like B2C, like custom business to custom. We're not doing that. We're just doing like talking to his wife Malia is most of like my admin with them, because she does all the office work. Um, so yeah, I want to like be careful and like preface it with like, I feel like we've gotten incredibly lucky, and it's like not, this
Yes.
subbing thing is like not for most people at all.
Totally.
And like I think either of us with a slightly worse other person would also fail at it. Like, we're not, Garrett and I aren't like these perfect people or whatever, but I think it's a good enough partnership where like both of us are just good enough to make it work. And I don't know what's happening on my screen. I feel
I
like
didn't
I
do
just got
that.
balloons. I didn't do that either. I'm not even touching anything. Um, so yeah, I feel like both of us, like I went back to earlier, of both of us are so focused on making sure, because like I'm happy where we're at right now, he's happy where he's at, but we're also like we're at capacity with what we're willing to take on as far as sub stuff, and he's not going to sub to anybody else, and we're going into spring rush kind of thing. And so most of that's like going over price increases and stuff like that of how does how do we go about this in the way that it's not benefiting me more than it's benefiting you kind of thing, and how it benefits both of us. And so yeah, I really think you can make it work with whatever method you'd like to go about. I really think it matters the two parties that are in it. If you're not 100% confident in it, or in the other person, I think it's not worth it. And I think something that, I guess, not to, I think a large reason that it did work is Garrett called me, and I've known Garrett for a couple of years now, obviously, but it's like you can know somebody, and then you can know somebody well enough, trust somebody well enough to sub them $100,000 in work. And I don't think we were there yet whenever he originally called me, when it was like, hey, do you would you be interested in this thing? Um, and so I think that if I've done one thing well in the partnership, it was from like the Thursday afternoon when he called me, by Saturday afternoon, every customer was imported. He gave me basically the login to his Copilot, and every customer was imported into our thing. Every service was set up. It was all routed, good to go. So I spent like literally the next 2 or 3 days inputting everybody, setting up all the services, talking with that. And I think without that, it would be. I think that gave. I think I had full confidence in Garrett. And I think probably that helped give Garrett full confidence in me. With Yeah, I think you just have to have full confidence. It has to be somebody you've known for a while, and that you just have
Mhm.
zero doubt in your mind that they're going to do right by you. Because if there's any doubt, it's just not worth it. Because by no fault of your own directly, you could lose 100 grand in work if
Totally.
they steal your people, do a poor job, that kind of thing. And yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. I think you can kind of make whatever situation you want work, as long as it's the two people that are involved.
Yeah, so your relationship capital has been huge. Once you built that, you were
Mm-hmm.
able to do this. So this is very interesting and very rare. So does
Mm-hmm.
his wife do both of your admin work?
Sorry, you cut out for like half a second. What'd you say?
Oh, sorry, sorry. Is his wife doing both of your admin work?
No, so she does all of their stuff. Like they don't use command for essentially anything other than like when she's not in the office, phone calls kind of thing. So she does obviously the stuff for their people, but then she also does the stuff for their people that we service. Is essentially what I'm saying. Like I actually just passed it all off to command like yesterday. But as far as the actual like scheduling, that kind of stuff, that's all me. But if a customer that we're mowing in Glendale, Denver, has a complaint or whatever, it's never going to me. It's always going to them. We're just a true sub where we show up and do the work, and then don't have any communication with the customer. If the customer has a question that they don't know, Malia, Garrett's wife, or Garrett asks me, and then they get back to the customer. So mostly it's the fact that I don't have to be. It's like I can at the end of the day go answer 10 questions for the day
Yes.
or less or whatever, instead of having it be like 10 questions incrementally throughout the day where I get a to do submitted or whatever. And it's like obviously answering a text is easier than completing a to do kind of thing in Copilot. So it's just, I guess it's friction. It's more frictionless. But no, she just does it for all of the people that they directly service, but then also the people that are their customers that we service.
Yeah, this is going to be really fun to see how it works with you using command services because they're
Mm-hmm.
also in your CRM, right? They're in your
Mm-hmm.
CRM and his CRM. And do you pay your guys P for P?
Yep.
So your guys are looking at those customers in their CRM to do their P for P every day. But if somebody
It's
called
in
command,
ours. It's
it's
in
in
ours now.
yours.
Yeah. So
Okay,
essentially, what we did is we just inputted all the customers with no emails, no phone numbers, literally just name and address. That way, like even if we accidentally sent out a one click and didn't filter anybody, they would never be getting stuff from us.
got
So
it.
they can see all of it. We just essentially what we did. I talked to Jesse yesterday because I was literally setting up everything just yesterday, and she was saying that it was good. But essentially, what we've done is in front of every customer in Glendale, we've put Glendale, like in parentheses, like Glendale in caps and parentheses, and then in front of every single service it says like Glendale weekly mowing X amount of budget hours. And so it's very easy for command, especially because our P4P percentage is higher actually in Colorado Springs, just because we're in such high growth mode than it is in Denver. So in Denver we're at the normal 33, here we're at 40%. And so, but she was saying that props to command center. Whenever she told me this, I was like, what? You guys can do that? She was like, yeah, we can change your mowing percentage for just Colorado Springs and not Glendale. And so yeah, so that's the nice thing is like no customer of Glendale would ever be calling into command center for like asking about us kind of thing. They'd all like
Got
if
it.
they ever called into command center, it'd always be like I guess we have zero. I don't. The customer probably does not know that the Colorado Springs location is servicing them essentially.
Oh, that's so
Um,
awesome.
so yeah, it's great. It's a great thing because they're at for mowing they're at 120 an hour just because like it's such a metro it's such a metro like wealthy area and there's just so many people and so they charge like 120 an hour and we charge 80 an hour and so they're able to literally take a third off the thing and so and then their only cost is admin, and so their
Incredible.
profit on just what they're taking off is like great.
Yeah.
And so it's a yeah, it's just a great, I guess, cohabiting. That's probably not the word, but it's great benefits both of us. And I don't think both of us have like neither of us are obviously I'm not in Garrett's mind, but I think it's working out super well. And we've been doing it. They started mowing April 1st, so we're over a month in. Like we're 6 because there was 5 weeks in April for mowing. I think so. We're like seventh week in, and so far it's pretty much gone off without a hitch. As far as I don't think there's ever been a time where we're like, maybe this isn't a good idea.
Hmm.
Like in general, I think there's been things where it's like, hey, we got to do a price increase or else like we can't take any more customers. Like, hey, no, I'm going to decide like we are profitable sending one person up there, but not profitable sending two people up there. It's just that line because we have a lot of drive time every
So
day.
good. Yeah.
And so I think there has been a couple like lines drawn in the sand of like this will not work, the partnership
Right.
will work, like the whole thing will work. We just can't get it to this point unless like prices are higher or we have a more dense route or whatever. So that's kind of what we're working on right now. But I don't think there's been a single moment, at least for me. I can't speak for Garrett. Obviously, I'm not in his mind, but there's never been a single moment for me where I'm like, maybe this wasn't a good idea.
Hmm.
Like in general, it's always been. Yeah, I think it really comes down to the people. You could have whatever issue, and any
Yeah.
issue can be solved if you have the right person dealing with it.
Oh,
But even the
that's
smallest
so
issue could
fabulous.
completely wreck it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So somebody else will probably ask, you just
Mhm.
mentioned earlier that you just got to your busy season. Was
Mhm.
he there before and you were already running those routes for him before you started mowing for the season?
So We start mowing 2 weeks after Garrett, because we're like 2,000 feet. Colorado is really weird. We're like our area is like 1,500 to 2,000 feet higher than Garrett's, and we're only like
Crazy.
45 minutes an hour away. So we're like 6,500 feet in a lot of areas, up to like 7,500 feet. Like I live at 7,500 feet, and so just like grass greens up a couple weeks later. And so he started mowing April 1st. We started mowing April 15th. And so yeah, it was a really nice like ramp up into it where it's not like we started everybody's mowing plus Garrett's at one time. It was like, hey, we had a second like we could send our experienced guys up to Glendale to like figure everything out, and then also be training other people at the other time. Now like the people that were brand new at the beginning of the season with mowing are able to mow Glendale because we had a couple weeks of being able to train them, and now they're able to go up and it's grass. It's making tall grass short, and it's really not that hard. And I feel like the hardest part is obviously the relationship, not the logistics of actually figuring out how to mow it.
100%. Yep.
And so, yeah, I think yeah, it was great to have that couple weeks essentially because we're getting into like our busy spring rush, but we started mowing a month ago today.
Awesome. So let's hop back to the beginning. How did you first
hmm
hear about Mike and get into Augusta?
I think the answer is YouTube, but I think the correct answer is my cousin showed me Mike on YouTube.
No
Um,
way.
we're the same age, and so for a while I think I was the youngest. So my first call with Lee was when I like just turned 16. So it was like I had turned 16 in
Wow.
October of 22, and my call was like in January or February of 23. And that's like what like Lee is a rock star and he filters out so many people. And so when we got to the end of the call and he was like, okay, so the next step is like, do I need to talk to your parents or what was it? I was like, wait, I like because I had heard like this wasn't even like something the whole and I've got time for this if you do, but the whole like parent situation was I love like they're great. It just took a lot of convincing to let a 16-year-old do it. Or yeah, I officially signed when I was 17, but we made the decision when I was 16. And so I had like heard all these things like Mike talk about because at that point I think C-suite had started or whatever where Mike was talking about how Lee like let like 1 in 7 people in, or 1 in 5 people in, or whatever number. And we got to the end of the call, and he was like, "Great, do I need to talk to your parents?" And I was like, "Wait, you're letting me in? Like this feels like a
So
bad
cool.
decision on your part. Like this feels like I'm happy I have not let Lee down, because I feel like Lee would have caught flack for letting me in if I had just completely crashed and burned." Um, but I think some of it was Mike had a good experience with Tyler. And so that's whenever he sent me the video after the call, or like his like personalized video of like, "Hey, heard you wanted to join Augusta." That's what he focused on, was like, "Hey, Tyler worked out. That's pretty much the only reason we're giving you a shot." Because Tyler was obviously closer to home and stuff like that for Mike the first time. So I think the fact that that worked out, I think, is my only saving grace for being able to join. Um, but yeah, it was just a super like weird process where I was like, Lee is like a killer, and he doesn't let like most people in, and for some reason he just said yes to me. And at that point, I hadn't even told my parents like of my
Oh my
inclination of
word.
of joining. And so yeah, it was great, super fun year-long process of convincing after that. But uh, yeah, it's been a wild experience. Like my experience inside Augusta has probably been like less strife free than my experience trying to join Augusta, as far
Wow.
as all the parents, like all like the stuff with parents and I guess like convincing, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Um, because now that I'm into it, I'm 18 now. I turned 18 in October of last year. Um, so my first full year I was 17, and that was weird. But I think after the first full year, my parents were like, "Okay, fine, you're right. Like clearly you proved whatever." And so and now I am obviously, I do listen to them. I do live with them. I do not legally have to take their advice anymore. And so now I can kind of do what I please. But I think they get now that like as a parent, I totally understood. As a parent, if I was a parent, I would totally understand where they're coming from, kind of thing. As far
Definitely.
as like, it's a weird it's like a weird goal. But I think that they get it now, kind of thing. Like I think they're mostly just relieved, like, okay, it worked.
You did the
Like
right thing.
he's not going to college, but it did work.
Yes.
And that was the biggest, like, college was the biggest thing, because it was like uh, my mom was a first generation college student, and then my dad grew up like everybody went to college, but he was in the Air Force for 22 years, so it was very much
Mm,
like white collar raising kind of thing around. Like he was an officer in the Air Force, and after a while they make a decent bit of money. And just like being around all these like the country's best of the best kind of thing.
yes.
Um, I think that after a certain while, like you start to just expect, like, oh yeah, of course my kids are going to do that kind of thing, or may not go to the Air Force, but like something in like the white collar field kind of thing.
Hmm.
And so that was a lot of convincing, and I think it's like such a yeah. It was basically, it was just 8 months of like back and forth of like making deals and like promising to do better at certain things or whatever. Um, and then finally I said yes, and then once I signed the papers, it was off to the races, and then I just started failing school. So it was
No
it was
kidding.
good.
I bet. I bet. So where are you today? How many guys do you have? How many trucks? How many customers?
Yeah, so we have 3 trucks. Our fifth guy, we were supposed to have a fifth guy start yesterday, but he flaked out. So a fifth guy starting Monday. Um, so a fifth guy starting Monday. Recurring customers, we do aerations twice a year, and we just have them recurring. So like I don't, our it's going to be a little bit of a skewed number. If you look at Copilot and ask recurring customers, it says 210, but that also includes like the certain amount that we're servicing in Glendale, and like the 15, 20 aeration customers that don't also do mowing. So realistically, like Colorado Springs customers, somewhere between 100, 150, probably on the lower end of that side. But right now we're just like we're adding 5+ mows a day, and so I'm hoping to bump that up. But
Wow.
I'm starting to be happy with where we're at as far as the year. Spring Rush was later this year, as far as like this probably would have happened 2 weeks ago last year. And
Hmm.
so I think some of it's like the economic uncertainty, where obviously like projects aren't being accepted as much, but like an 80-year-old still can't mow their grass. They
Right.
just wanted to prolong it, like prolong signing up as long as possible. And I think that's why we're seeing like the couple week uh like shift, like a couple week delay kind of thing, is because people, instead of being a proactive of like, oh, my lawn's going to need cutting, are waiting till their lawn like is long, and then they're like, oh, I should sign up for service now. And so we're finally getting there. So I think, yeah, 3 trucks, 5 guys, and then like 120-ish customers, I'd say is probably the best bet. And then hopefully over the next couple of weeks we get closer to 150.
Incredible. So is your goal to get out of the field? It seems like you would have to be out of the field
I'm,
right now with all that's going
yeah,
on.
I am out right now. So my last week of high school was last week, and so before that, like I only had a couple classes a day, but it was still like 15 hours of my week that I was tied up. And then also we do a bit of commercial stuff, not a bit, like we do enough commercial stuff where we have to like have the infrastructure for like irrigation and whatnot like that. And so we won't do like big installs or whatever. We can very much turn it on and off as far as the residential side, as far like turn off the leads, say we don't do it right now. But the last couple weeks, like startups and whatnot have been big, and so it's weird because I'm like totally in like this weird limbo mode, because I got out of school, so I got 15 weeks back. We stopped doing like startups dried up, so I got 10 to 15 hours back. Um, so that's 30 hours, and then we just gave off like yesterday. I spoke to Connor Hutchinson's my coach, and he was like, "Fine, if we're gonna grow this much, like you need to give everything to command and just like get crazy good at sales." And so that's, I'm like in this weird limbo mode right now where like I gave everything away, and now
Right.
like I theoretically have time in the field, and now I need to figure out like what's the best place to put my time as far as growing. And I think like right now we're trying to figure out Facebook, um, but like that's not going to take a long time. And so I think, yeah, some of it's like figuring out like, do I, because we work 410, so it's like, do I go work by myself in the field on Fridays? Do I like,
Got it.
how much should I work, how much should I artificially add to my plate to like, I guess, because I don't have a ton, because it's this weird like back and forth of one week I have
Right.
a million hours of stuff to do, and the next week, like this week, I'm like, I feel like I'm wasting time.
Hmm.
So this week's like a weird limbo mode. But it's because we last year, like we finished off last year. Essentially, last year I didn't have any full time employees. We went from like 1 or 2 part time people to like 5. Like we started spring with 3, and we're moving to like we've went to 4, and then we're going to 5 now. And so it's like this weird. Like I think for a couple weeks there was like this huge skill gap of like managing
Yeah.
anybody.
Yeah.
And then like a lot of projects and whatnot, and a lot of stuff like that. And now I feel like we're so we have that one truck up in Glendale, and then we have
Hmm.
one mowing truck down here, and we just hit capacity for that one like yesterday.
Wow.
And so now we're like a couple, and we also are like pretty booked out already with projects, like multiple at least a month kind of thing with projects, with 4 people. That's why we're hiring the 5th. And then now any mows that we're getting are being added to that truck and starting to like chip away at like needing 70, 80 hours of projects a week. And so I feel like I forgot what I was getting to, but
Being out of the field and what you're doing
yeah,
with your
right,
time.
right,
What
right,
about
right, right, yeah,
estimates? Are you trying to do the marketing, be in growth mode, and do as many estimates as you can? Do you try to pack them in a day?
yeah. Well, typically it's like for example, it's 9:30 here. We got the guys started at like 7. I went and like did my drive bys from yesterday kind of thing, and then
Mm,
like worked on my computer for like 30 minutes or whatever. And so I feel like I try to mostly get, if I have time at the end of the day, I'll go and do like the estimates for the end of the day. But right now it's like we're getting a decent amount where it's not like 1 or 2, it's like 4 or 5 most of the time. And so I feel like if I go at the end of the day, 1 or 2 are going to be added after I go do them. And it's like, oh, now should I go do them in the morning, or should I just do everybody in the morning? And so I think it's kind of like where everything fits, because I'm kind of there is some stuff where I am still like an, uh, like OSM kind of thing, like operation
yeah.
success, like trying to do some of that, where it's like, hey, this mower is whatever. Okay, I'll come pick that up, whatever kind of thing. I drive a lame little sedan now because we had to fit all 3 trucks in the field, so
Yep.
it's the back of my car looks really funny with like sprinkler stuff and whatever.
Yep.
but yeah, I think like I'm out of the field. I'm trying to stay out, but mostly it's like I need to prove to myself that I can drum up enough
Yes.
busyness to
Yep.
to be out and like actually justify it. So for example, I think I'll probably go do stuff in the field tomorrow, but I think after that, especially as we like move into summer or whatever, I think it's more just like how can we figure out how to like always be progressing, even like partially growing. Because if you can figure out how to even like incrementally grow throughout the summer, um, and then in like the winter we do snow, like we're really big into snow, and so if you can figure out like during the summer how to get customers with that, and then figure out how to like super optimize ads where before a snowstorm, like big snowstorms coming in, and you launch ads 2 days before and you have a bunch of like that kind of thing. I think that's what Connor and I talked about a lot, is like quote unquote like just like figuring out how to like be a marketing genius enough to justify being out of the field, where a couple hours of my time can drum up a bunch of hours of business kind of thing. I think that's where I'm at right now. It's mostly just starting from complete scratch and like not like how do you become a
Totally.
marketing genius? Like
Yes.
what do I need to look at or watch or whatever? And so I think that's kind of the limbo mode of like I feel like I know what I need to do and I don't fully know. And Garrett's a huge help with this because he's like giving me some direction on the Facebook stuff. But I feel like I know what the outcome needs to be, and I don't yet know. I'm still like putzing around trying to figure out like how to get to that output, because once I have like something that I need to do, then like I can do it pretty easy. Like I just work until it's done kind of thing. But right now I feel like it's this weird like sitting around trying to find your first inkling of success with something like Facebook, and you're like, ooh, that worked. You have to like wait. You have to like do a bunch of wrong crap before something works, and then you're
Yeah.
like, ooh, that worked. And then you try something that worked in like a different variation. It doesn't work at all, and so you're like, oh, false lead.
Yeah.
And then you have to go on and try all over again. And so I think finding like the first couple. I think I'm trying to find like the first couple like inklings of where to go, if that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Yep, you've hired team members, and having a team to lead is a whole nother ball game than managing yourself and maybe one other person. So, what are you
Mhm.
trying to do to cultivate yourself as a leader and to lead your team? What are you most nervous about, or what do you feel confident about leading a team?
Um, well, it helps because like I'm 18, but like most of the time I could look a lot younger for 18, which is nice. Most people like it's a surprise whenever they hear it. As far as like personal, I feel like even though I didn't have a team last year, I feel like I really spent a lot of time like trying to figure it out as far
Yeah.
as like different material, different content, different books, different podcasts, whatever kind of thing. And so I feel like I had a good. I think uh, I'm very outgoing and extroverted, and so I think that the challenge for me wasn't as much of like leading people. I feel like it was more, and I feel like I struggled with this for a couple weeks. Mostly when people's jobs were not uncertain, but like it was uncertain what to be doing the next day. It's not like, all right, we fell into mowing and now these people will be mowing the rest of the year until middle of October, where it was like, hey, this day it's cleanup, this day it's aerations, this day it's whatever, work long days, we're like it's raining, we're getting behind kind of thing. I think really what my biggest skill gap was quote unquote like managing people's emotions,
Yes.
of like guys are all adults, like they're between like 24 and 35 or something like that. They're all adults. At what point do I tell them like suck it up, it's a job?
Hmm.
And at what point do I like empathize with the fact that yeah, it's like it is a long day. Like you had a long day, whatever. You have every right to be tired and a little bit of a pissy attitude. And like it's somewhere in between where I feel that it was more like the experience, the side that I didn't have of it that was hard. Of like you can read all the books or whatever and have like you can have a lot of like baseline skills that just from doing all that, but until you have, I guess, until you make a comment that's too suck it up and then the person quits, you don't have like a baseline of like, ooh, that's too far kind of thing. And so I think that's mostly where it was I didn't want people to like, we have the culture in our team like is fantastic right now. And I don't feel like it's as much of my own. I feel like I haven't done as much as I could to make it great. I feel like we literally just have like great people. Um,
Hmm.
and so I can't take credit necessarily for it. Uh, but there's like some great camaraderie kind of thing. And so I think the biggest thing was like I think it literally just falls back to like a skills gap. I think it was literally just emotions of
Mm.
um like I'm a huge overthinker, and I think in a lot of things, just mostly like just any friendships, relationship, that kind of thing in general. And so mostly thinking of like a comment that somebody said that probably didn't mean anything. But in my mind, it's like, oh, is that gonna, like, am I pushing him too hard? Are they gonna quit because of that? They're a great guy. I'd hate to have to find another person like him as far as his attitude and whatnot. Do I tell him suck it up and then maybe he quits, or do I like empathize and waste my time and like go like fix everything for them kind of thing? And so I think it was a lot of that. I don't feel like I did a whole. I feel like I probably got better at it, but I also feel for some reason like it kind of just went away, and that may have been just getting better at it and just like knowing when to say what. Um, I don't know if the issue kind of went away, and I can't tell yet if it was like just something where a lot of our people were like brand new to the industry. A lot of people just I can't tell if it's something where they just all toughened up, or if it was something where I got better at like making split decisions of like what to do based off of that. I don't know yet. I can't tell. Like, I can't take credit
Yeah.
for it necessarily. But thankfully, it's like not as much of an issue anymore because for a couple of weeks, I feel like that was a huge thing weighing on my mind. If it would ruin my work for the rest of the day because I'd be worried about. Um, I'd be worried about like if this one person's comment meant they were going to quit the next day, kind of thing.
Mhm. That's awesome. It's gonna be a fun, wild ride for you. So what's your long-term goal? Do you have an idea of what you wanna do right now?
Yeah. So long term, I guess lifelong term goal is like build Augusta up to like Augusta as in like multiple locations. One, like I guess I don't have like specifically that like the size goal yet. I think it's mostly just like crazy growth mode and until I can't and we can pull profit mode or whatever. But eventually the goal is to like get out of it after a certain amount of years and go do long term missions. And so I think it's mostly like in an unselfish way because of what I want to do with the money, make as much money and then sell it as I
Mhm,
can and then sell it. And so I really think that like this year we'll do somewhere in the neighborhood of 450. Um, and then yeah, I think it's mostly I think after you get to that point, you kind of like know how to grow stuff. It's mostly just about finding people to help you grow it. And so yeah, I feel like I do feel like I'm in a weird limbo of like figuring out what my next like step is because I feel like I know how to grow. My next challenge is finding people to like grow with me kind of thing, like finding not like laborers, turning laborers into people that can help grow with me. I feel like the growth part is once you've done it once or twice, you can grow a location and you can teach
mhm,
somebody how to grow a location. I think it's learning how to teach somebody how to grow a location. Um, so I feel like I don't have like a great answer as far as like Connor Hutchinson's like I want 100 locations of Augusta, that kind of thing. I feel like I don't have a perfect uh, answer for that just because I feel like it depends on the people you have.
oh,
Um,
definitely.
on what you do next. And I feel like right
Yeah.
now I'm trying to figure like we have a great team of like I already know who our fifth employee is. So like we have a great team of five. Um, and it's like finding like, okay, are any of these people cut out for managing this location to start another one? How like is that going to be next year? Is that going to be the year after that? Is it going to be the year after that kind of thing? Where like or how big do we grow this one next year if we're not doing another location or whatever? I think at this point, with where we are on, like, I feel like I know how to grow and like manage growth. Obviously, always be better at. That's why we're trying to figure out ads and whatnot. But I feel like I can manage growth. It's finding somebody. I think that'd be my next hurdle is like finding another person to be me. I'd like to be the me or as close to like be able to be themselves, but also handle the location in their own way, kind of thing. Um, yeah, I don't feel like I've thought about it like that before, but I feel like that's the truth of
Mhm.
once you've grown a location, you can do it again and again and again and
Oh,
again.
100%.
It's
Yep.
it's fine. It's like pretty easy at a certain point pretty easily. It's finding the people to do it
Just the
with you or do it
people.
for you kind of thing. Yeah. So
Yeah,
I feel
yeah.
like that's the next thing.
Yeah. Oh, this has been great. So, as we wrap up today, what things are you currently listening to make you grow? And what do you think you've listened to make you the person you are? It sounds like your dad was a big influence, but what are you
Hmm.
currently absorbing?
Yeah, I feel like I mean I'll touch on what you just said. I feel like growing up a military brat, which is the endearing term that they give military kids. I feel like that I think that's the reason I am where I am today in general,
Hmm.
as far as like I've starting in Augusta. I've done some fairly big things before that, mostly in like the mission field and whatnot. So I feel like their military kids are just better. They just are. Like you can't really beat them, just because like they've got like Southern manners with like Boston grit is like what I feel
That's
like is what it
awesome.
is,
Yeah.
of just like I moved before I Colorado, moving from Florida to Colorado was my 10th move. Um, between
Wow.
states and countries. So it wasn't like we moved around Florida, then we moved to Colorado. It was like I was born in England, then we moved like North Carolina. I've lived in North Carolina, Ohio, Alabama, California, Florida, Colorado, like across the country, like everywhere in the
Hmm.
country. Um, and like you had I think a lot of that was like you had to meet new people every single day, and so I think
Yeah.
that's some of the reason I'm extrovert, like new friends every year and a half, every 2 years kind of thing. And
Hmm.
so I think that's some of the reason you have to be extra, like I have to be extroverted. And I think some of that like has allowed me to have the personalism needed to like connect with employees on like the right level. So I think just the people that I grew up around. It was all, I guess, like the families that I grew up around. All of the officers. Some of the enlisted folks were a little bit crazier, but like all the officers, like all, I feel like they were every family that we were family friends with was like exactly like our family of like two great parents, a couple kids, and like the same values we had kind of thing. And so I feel like that was just super strongly implemented because it wasn't like, oh, my parents believe these things. It was like, oh, a lot of people that I look up to and respect act this way and believe these things. So as far as like people, that's about it because I feel like my family's been like the one constant throughout my entire life because we've just moved away from everybody else.
Hmm.
Um, and then as far as like the other person, like yeah, the people at the Colorado Augustas are huge. Um, we have like a we'll do like all the owners or and their employees sometimes meeting like 2-3 times a year. But then like Garrett's the one I'm closest to, and we talk for 15 minutes or 2 hours every other day.
Oh my
And
word.
so like while driving or whatever, we're not wasting time,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I know.
between 15 minutes and 2 hours, like every other day.
It's awesome.
Some of that's subcontracted stuff, but also like other stuff comes up. So that's people. Obviously, like you, Mike, and Lee are some like the people I look up to the most as far as just like getting stuff done. And I was impressed that the first opening time for the podcast was 6 a.m. my time, which would have been 5 a.m. your time. And I was like, I almost want to book it just to see if she shows up, but also I would feel bad. So like stuff, I guess minor things like that I'm super impressed with. Books, we buy one new Audible book a month. Um, I feel like I don't know. There's I could like keep going and going and going. So I'll try to like keep it short as far as like what I have. Um, How to Win Friends and Influence People is one of my favorite books. I've listened to it like 3 times a year for the last couple of years. It was written like the 30s, so like most of it still
Totally.
applies.
Yep.
There's some like things that don't apply now, but like so much of it, you'd be remarkable. It's remarkable how much of it applies. And I feel like after you read a couple of times, you actually start to after you read any book a couple of times or hear any principle a couple of times, you actually start to like think about that principle, like, oh, I could do that kind of thing. Um, and so I feel like I've started to get to that point with some of the books. So How to Win Friends and Influence People. Um, Both of Jocko's books are huge as far as like what I listened to last year, like multiple times. To just be like, that's what I need to do. Um,
Hmm.
and then there's a bunch of, I guess, a you could take this as I don't read other books or I read enough other books where I can't mention all of them. But I feel like a bunch of other books. One other one that stands out a ton is It Takes What It Takes by it's like Trevor Moa or whatever. It's
Hmm.
Russell Wilson's like mind coach or something like that.
Yes, I've
And I
read that
think
one
that
twice. It's great.
yeah, that helps a lot. That helped a lot. I feel like I've gotten significantly better at like the quote unquote neutral thinking and that.
Hmm.
And I think I feel like I've done like multitudes better at that than last year because last year was a rough year for a lot of the year. I had like a lot of
Yeah.
not great things go on, and that book was definitely one of those things where I feel like I really tried to do that and I was decent at it, and then I read it and I don't feel like I really tried to change anything else, but I feel like stuff changed is what I feel like what
Hmm.
happened. I feel like it just naturally like kind of seeped in. And then as far as like everyday stuff, um, build is huge with Layla, and then I listen to Alex less. I'm starting to do more with like the marketing stuff,
Hmm.
but some of his stuff is just so high level where it's like
Exactly.
it will apply at some point, but I think Layla applies to most of Augusta more, significantly
Right.
more than
Definitely.
Alex. Um, just like Alex stuff is like super interesting to listen to. Like you hear his examples
Hmm.
and you're like, that's really great, but also like you're talking about like a $50 million thing, and when
Right.
you're talking
Right.
about $60,000 in ads, it's like that doesn't
Yeah.
even like I'm not even close right now. And so it will be applicable, and it's all great info. But I feel like probably most of Alex's value to me comes through like the marketing stuff and like the general idea of like his general I guess principles on that.
Yeah,
I feel like that's
she's
yeah,
more leading
exactly.
operators.
Every
So
day,
those of
yeah,
us that are
exactly.
operating businesses,
Hmm.
he is more high level visionary.
Hmm. Exactly. Yeah. And so I think some of it is weird because like I'm trying to find like obviously Layla. I feel like Layla is a great like every day in the field, or not every day in the field, but also or like slightly out of it'd be great like
Yeah.
working GM coach kind
Hmm.
of thing. But I feel like I'm struggling to find somebody like right in the middle where it's like obviously I'm not on Alex's scale. No, but like very few people on Alex's scale, or even like few people relate to Alex's scale, and very few people, even fewer people, on Alex's scale. So I don't feel like I'm to the point where like more than 30% of his content is super valuable yet to me. But then also I feel like being completely out of the field, like focusing on what I'm or figuring out like what I'm trying to do. I feel like there's like this weird gap of like right in
Yeah.
between their two things of Alex is talking like huge and Layla's talking about like literal personal relationships. And so I feel like there's like this weird gap
Hmm.
of like our team is great. I don't see anybody quitting in the near future, and most of them are pretty decent at like at what they're doing by now.
Hmm.
So they don't take a whole lot of like training, leading stuff like that. Obviously, we can always get better, but we're kind of like at this baseline where it's like uh, things are going smooth enough. So I think there's like a weird gap there. Yeah, I feel like that sums up a lot of. There's probably people I forgot, people I missed, but I feel like that sums up a lot of. I think a year or two ago would have been more of an answer of like, oh, Brian's lawn maintenance, that kind of thing. But I feel like
Yeah.
it's just, I feel like I've graduated past a lot of that stuff, where it's just not, it's, it's not super helpful anymore.
Yeah.
Of it's like they're focusing on such minute things where yes,
Hmm.
they're actually like my size of business. Brian's probably like slightly larger than me, um, but they are focusing on like staying that size of business kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like yes, we're at like 450 or whatever for like run rate for the year kind of thing, but in my mind, like we're already past that because like I once you kind of start spring rush, everything all the work that you did before is all the stuff that's going to happen now. Like, it's too late to change anything now kind of thing
Hmm.
as far as like you're in spring rush. And so it's like great, as successful as we're being right now is as successful as we will be for the year. I'm ready for the next spring rush. Like, well, I'm ready for winter so we can get ready for the next one, kind of thing. Um, so I wish it was like a video game, right, where you could just like
Hmm.
skip to the next year. Like you already set up everything up and you could skip to the next year. But I think yeah, a lot of it's just playing out the long term right now, or like
Yeah.
just
And for
not
yourself,
getting bored.
yeah, for yourself
Yeah,
with being in Augusta Nation, the perfect people are the people that are just ahead, who just dominated what you're trying to do, who
yeah,
are still in growth mode, or who are now in just not plateauing, but in growth mode. Uh, well, you're in growth mode right now, but
Mhm.
anybody who's just trying to hold steady and gain profits, if you're looking at them as ahead of you, then you hone in and do what you're doing now and just look at them as the barometer to keep moving up and up. They're the
Mhm.
closest ones
Yeah,
to us.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I feel like I'm mostly trying to I'm like between 12 and 18 months behind Garrett at any given
There
time,
you go.
and so I feel
Perfect.
like yeah, I feel like he's a great like it's like the perfect time. I think I'm
Yes.
catching up. We'll see. I feel like I'm catching up.
Ooh, it sounds like
Um,
there's some
but
competition going on there.
no. Well, he's given us half his revenue right now. So, okay. So yeah, we would not be catching up as much if he had not given us all of this work. Friendly joking, but no, I feel like I'm yeah between 12 and 18 months behind Garrett at
That's
any given
great.
time as far as like monthly revenue, amount of employees, etc. And so, yeah, that's where, sorry, I like can't even focus. There's like
No, that's
100
okay.
like commands that are like added estimate, and then like 3 minutes later, added
I
estimate,
know.
estimate
I
accepted.
know.
I'm like, I need to turn my email off.
I love
Um,
it. No, this is great. So one
but
just
so yeah.
final thing then.
Mhm.
I'll just ask you what advice you would give to another 17-year-old. I'm telling you that Lee actually brought you before the leadership team because we had said we'd
Did he?
never bring anybody on that was 18 or under. And
Can you
so
tell me
he
how that went,
asked.
or is that confidential?
Oh no, he is if he's pretty confident in his decision, but because
Mhm.
we had said that before, he brought it to us and like, I
Mhm.
really think this kid is legit. I think we should let him in. And he would just like lay it out for us. Like we're pretty unemotional. It's just facts
Mhm.
and data. And then we decided together that we would just trust in Lee and his judgment and go for it. So
Well,
we're
that's
pretty happy
good to
about
hear.
that. Yeah. So
Yeah, that's
give us some
awesome.
advice. Give the young guy advice who's in your spot. Maybe age might be a factor to some people, their families, some pushback, and
Yeah,
belief in themselves. So, what would you say to you?
I feel like I I think I have some, but I truly feel like it was my upbringing that like I have to credit for it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because like there's just some people, and again, this is like a weird statement because I feel like I'm like tooting my own horn kind of thing, or as far tooting like my family's own horn kind of thing. But I feel like it's not for like I feel like I'd probably not recommend it for most people. Um, but if you are in like a similar situation as far as like age, upbringing, I'd already done some stuff in Florida, so like I had enough money to like pay. Like most 17-year-olds probably didn't have enough. That was when the solo model was still available,
Mm-hmm.
and so most 17-year-olds didn't have like 7 grand to just drop on that plus the other stuff or whatever of joining, trucks, decals, that stuff like that. So I feel like it's not a good move for 99% of 17-year-olds.
Correct. Yeah.
But for the ones that it is, um, I don't know. I really think just truly looking up to. I don't feel like I did anything. It's like super out of the ordinary as far as like what I did to grow, but I think just yeah, surrounding yourself with the people that you want to be like, I think is the biggest thing. Um, of like find people that will for some reason give you give you their time when you probably don't deserve it at that point, or like you're
Mm-hmm.
not like you're not getting a whole lot of obviously try to give them back uh, in like value. Um, I think that's where Garrett and I are on right now. We're like, we actually, since I'm at a respectable, like a decent respectable size now, I say things where Garrett's like, oh, that just clicked. And then Garrett says a bunch of things, probably more things than I say that I'm like, oh, well, that makes sense now. Um, I think like, yeah, find people that will give you their time when you don't deserve it and find the way to start deserving their time as soon as possible.
Oh,
I feel
that's
like
awesome.
is what it is.
That's a
Because at 17 you don't deserve anybody's time as far
no,
as like
no.
in the business world. Like it's literally just generosity and like charity to be completely honest. So you don't deserve anybody unless you're like this unless you already have like a huge business. If you're just starting out like at 16, 17, you don't deserve anybody's time to be completely
Mm-hmm.
honest. And so you have to like push to find people that will give you their time for some reason, and then as soon as possible start giving them back value for that, if that makes sense.
I love it. Well, I appreciate your time, and I'll let you go
Yeah,
take on the day with Command Center at your side.
yeah, yeah.
When we hop off here, just stay on for a little bit so we can run over some
Okay,
things together. All right.
good
Thank you
deal.
so
Awesome,
much.
thank you.
Have a great day.
Yeah,
Bye.
you too.